Welcome to another Unitrend Certified Administrator course. Today we're going to be talking about the Protected Assets tab in the UI and understanding some of the differences in the different type of assets that we have and some of the options that you have for configuration. We've added in quite a few different items here as both virtual hosts for VMware and Hyper-V are added here. If you have a Nutanix environment, you can also add that in as well. We also have assets. Asset is defined as anything that has the Unitrends agent installed to the system, meaning that you have either gone to the network share on the Unitrends appliance and installed the agent on the system, or gone to the support website and installed things like our Linux agents. We also have the ability to add in NAS shares here, supporting both NFS and CIFS. And DMP is typically not used anymore as we offer incremental forever for CIFS or NFS. But within these different types of objects that we have, we can then do certain settings for those items. For a VMware VM, for example, I can select this VM and come to the Edit menu at the top. The first option that we have available here is indexing. Indexing is where we will index the backup at the end of every operation to make sure that we have a catalog of all the files that have changed within that backup. Think of it in the sense of when I do a block-based backup, I'm not picking up every file that's changed on disk. I'm only picking up whatever sectors on disk have changed. And that sector doesn't necessarily contain an entire file. So the only way to know what files truly changed would be to mount the backup and create a catalog of all the files that had changed. This should typically only be used on something like a file server and should be used sparingly as it is a fairly CPU intensive operation to do this index. With VMware VMs, we also have the ability to set credentials here. These credentials allow us to log in through VMware tools to do what we call an application-aware backup. This is where we log in through VMware tools and signal to VSS, I would like to take a backup. That way, if SQL was in the middle of updating a million tables, it would finish that operation, tell VSS that I've completed and that you are safe to take a backup, which tells VMware tools it's safe to take a backup. And then things happen cleanly, the backups run, and it's able to not interrupt the operations on that SQL server. This also does support log truncation for Exchange, but note that if you are using SQL here and you need to have log truncation happening, you should be using SQL maintenance plans to do so, or switch down to one of our agent-based backups. And talking about those agent-based backups, if we were to come to our SQL server here, under the Edit menu, I have the ability to set image level backup settings. This application awareness here again will allow us to do the log truncation because we are inside of the actual machine and have deeper hooks inside of it. We're able to handle that for you, but this will go into SQL maintenance jobs and disable any backup tasks that you have configured since we need to be maintaining them moving forward. We can also index these image level backups. Again, same thing, we would use this typically on a file server. So that way we are able to use the search files feature to look for a particular file name over time. But both image and VM level backups, you still can do file level recovery from without using indexing. You just have to mount each point and find whatever you'd like to recover in that point in time. For a NAS device here, you'll see that it just shows the IP address of our NAS, the protocol and port, and what the share name was. And if we needed to change the credential that we're using, we could type a new credential here. There are some other backup types that will show up within this list. And I always like to make sure that I mention here, this defines a file level backup versus an image level backup versus an application level backup for SQL. For something like a SQL server back in the day, all we had was file and application level backups, where the file level backup would protect all the OS files and any data there, but it would exclude the SQL databases as we had to have them on their own separate schedule. This has been replaced with the image level backups, which allow us to capture all of the SQL information and every changed block on disk, which is a much more efficient backup. This is the same for Exchange. You'll see again, we have the Exchange availability groups here, or database groups. We also have the ability to just run that image level backup at an application aware level. Some customers will choose to do a combination of these. For example, if I had a QuickBooks server, I could have a file level backup that targeted just the QuickBooks directory during the day, but also have an image level backup that targeted the entire machine once a night. Then with that, I can set different retention policies, having the image level backup to where it would only maintain a 30-day policy versus the file level backup having a 90-day policy. Retention is covered more in another module, so we will leave that to that module. But this shows you the different types of backups that we can do from different kinds of clusters or individual hosts. There are some more limitations when it comes to Hyper-V, as we do not yet have indexing or application awareness here. Though we are application aware in the sense that we talk to Hyper-V integration services. So it's the same thing as doing a normal VMware application aware backup. It just doesn't do your log truncation. If you have further questions about this, please contact our support team or review our module on setting up backup jobs for different backup systems, and we will cover those items in that module. Thank you again for your time and have a wonderful day.